Welcome to the Longevity Program, a program designed with one simple thing in mind, and that is to live longer, stronger. Now, a couple of posts ago, I talked about the hidden dangers of sugar in packaged foods. And that was a real eye-opener for me when I grabbed out a glass full of sugar after just one day of eating a whole lot of different packaged foods. I'm going to take that concept further today and continue to talk about packaged foods and what I believe in my process of going through this longevity program is a real eye-opening reality of this crazy modern world that we live in, and that is the challenges of packaged foods. Now, one of the things that is all the rage at the moment is this whole plant-based diet. Now, I'm following a plant-based diet for the next month at the very least. And then, as I've mentioned, I'll be switching over to go to some meat in my diet. Now, why am I doing that? And what am I looking to achieve? You might remember that in going into the longevity program, and in fact, on my plant-based journey, the reason why I went across to plant-based initially was because my wife had gone through a journey with cancer, and in that research that she looked at after her experience with cancer, she decided for her that a vegan diet was going to be the best way possible to give her a great recovery from that cancer. And as a family, we decided to go down that path. And in going down that path, I found that, hey, this plant-based diet actually really interacted well with me in so many ways. And so here we are, I'm operating with a plant-based diet. The easiest way to help people understand the type of diet that I'm following at the moment is a vegan diet. I'm not going to be following that from another month on. Why? Because I feel that there are some really great macronutrients in clean meat, I'll talk about that in a second, in clean meat that will work well with my diet, and I'm going to be able to test and play with that and see how I go. Because remember, for me, the longevity program is all about listening and looking at what's going on with my body and what works well for me and what doesn't. Now, one fundamental thing that I completely believe in as I'm going through this program is that it's not so much whether or not you follow a plant-based diet or whether you follow meat diet and suddenly there's a plant-based wars and the meat wars and everyone's getting all upset about everything and you're eating this and you're eating that. Take a breath and just think about what we're trying to achieve here, and think about how our bodies have evolved over the years, over the millennia, and what we are able to digest and interact with. And very much it's what I would call, and what so many people call, a whole foods diet. And that is what I'm really chasing in the longevity program, a whole foods diet. At the moment, that whole foods diet is based on plants. And in another month's time, that whole foods diet for me will be based on plants predominantly with some meat and what I would call clean cuts of meat. So effectively what I'm looking at there is not those pre-made, pulled apart and then put back together with all sorts of nasty additives type of meat. I'm looking for clean cuts of steak, clean cuts of chicken, clean fish, and so on. So just the fish itself, nothing else. And then I might add in some flavors that I know exactly what are in them, and there's not much. Let me give you an example. So on the plant-based diet, you can go for your plant-based schnitzels, okay? And in those plant-based schnitzels, you can have plant protein portion, which has got soy protein, coconut oil, vegetable oils. Then you've got maltodextrin, natural flavors, so on and so forth. So there are a whole lot of additional products in this product. And I would suggest that is not whole foods. You would be better, and I know this is controversial, you would be better grabbing yourself just chicken. You know exactly what is in that. It's chicken. It's not ultra processed. And that's one of the things that I've noticed is that people can get on their high horses and go, man, I'm eating a plant-based diet and I tell you what, I'm doing better than you because you're eating that nasty meat. And then they don't realize that in this plant-based diet, either something like this or maybe some plant-based sausages, which once again, if I went through the ingredients list, and remember, I always say, have a look at the ingredients list because that's so incredibly important. If you have a look at the ingredients list, there is a whole lot of ultra-processed foods that are in that. Another one, plant-based bacon. Now, I'm not a big fan of bacon, full stop. I actually don't like processed meats at all. Once again, I'd rather have the clean cut of meat. But if you're going to go for a plant-based bacon, but it's full of hyper, ultra processed products and foods, then I would suggest you're not doing yourself a favour. And look, we're living in a modern, crazy, busy world, and I'm not saying that you can avoid packaged foods and you can go out and till the fields yourself and get dirt in your fingers and away you go. Realistically, I have packaged foods. I've got hemp seeds, they're in a pack, but it's one ingredient. I've got chia seeds in a pack, one ingredient. Baby spinach, once again, in a pack, one ingredient that I'm aware of. Or maybe tofu. I think it's 3 ingredients in tofu, but they're really simple, easy to understand ingredients. Not something like protein pud, which once again, if I read through the ingredients list, you have got a range of different things that are thrown into that, normally with processed oils and so on and so forth, that are just not good for our body, full stop. Now, every once in a while, if you want to give that a crack, well, at least know what you're putting into your body and don't pretend that plant-based, is good for you, because it's not. Nowhere near as good as this simple packaging, which is an avocado, beautiful. Or perhaps this great packaging here, sweet potato and capsicum, love it. Now, once again, I might go to some more packaging, but it's walnuts, it's one ingredient. Easy, so I'm using this crazy, modern, awesome society that we have, and there are so many great things that come out of what we've got, and that is I'm able to go to the shops and I'm able to get some really good food for me that is in packaged form, that I don't have to go out and farm it and so on and so forth, but I know what's in it. It's really, really simple. And that for me is such an important part of this longevity program. It's being aware of how I can use this society, this supply chain that we live in and we work with, and I can get what I need that's healthy for me, that helps me to live longer, that's convenient, but I can avoid the things that are not good for me, even though there is this mantra at the moment that you must follow a certain diet this way or that, whether it's plant-based, whether it's meat-based, whether it's, you've got carnivore and so on and so forth. What are the principles to which I'm working with? And that is just good, simple, whole foods. Good, simple, predominantly, and I do believe predominantly plants, because there are so many great macronutrients in plants that really look after our bodies well. And I also firmly believe that you can also get some really great proteins and so on through clean cuts of meat as well. But I think plants, predominantly for me, and once again, the longevity program is this year of living that I'm going through and playing and seeing how things go. So really high levels and a high amount of plants, and then I'll bring in some lean cuts of meat, not too much, just a couple of times a week, and that'll be enough. And that'll give me some great macronutrients. And we'll see how that goes. But the basis, the absolute basis, is in simply looking for 1 or 2 ingredients in any packaged food that I get, and avoiding 12 ingredients or 14 ingredients and so on in and ultra processed foods that are in other packaged foods. So hopefully that makes sense. I think it's really, really important that we just always look at that ingredients label on the back of the pack and just make sure that we're not inadvertently taking in a whole lot of highly processed foods into our body, because our bodies aren't designed. The evolution is not there. We are not able to properly process those foods, and they can play all sorts of havoc. I've certainly seen it in my body. So I hope that helps. And remember, at the end of the day, this is all focused with one simple thing in mind, and that is to live long, to live strong. Until next time.